I remember as a fourth grader, so I was about 9 at this point, I can specifically remember having an assignment at school where the teacher asked us to do a presentation on what we wanted to be when we grew up. And I chose to be a meteorologist, and I knew that I really liked that. So I specifically did some research on tornadoes and on meteorologists and on what they did. And I actually remember being frustrated because the books in the library didn't have the kind of information that I was looking for. I wanted to know more about tornadoes specifically, and they didn't have that information. I use mobile radar data to study tornadoes and the thunderstorms that produce them, with the specific effort of trying to examine how the rotation in the storm develops and how that makes it to the tornado. My earliest memory of the weather actually was perhaps maybe an unfavorable one. When I was, I don't know, I don't even know how old I was. I was very young, but I was actually really afraid of the thunder and of the lightning. And some of my earliest memories include running to my parents' bedroom as a child, just being utterly terrified of the lightning and of the thunder. Also, if I was outside playing and I heard thunder, I would pretty much scream and run into the house, just pretty much terrified. So if you can also kind of tell, you can't read the numbers, but you see a lot of numbers right here. The numbers indicate the height at which that wind observation is representing, basically. When you see a lot of numbers stacked like right on top of each other, that's also bad because that means that your winds aren't changing with height. So when you're actually out there in the field chasing, it's a lot of waiting and not a whole lot of action. In fact, probably about 80% of the time we're either driving or we're waiting somewhere for storms to actually fire. But a typical day is going to be you wake up in the morning, you look at computer models, and you try to figure out where you should be going for the day, where the best environment is going to be for storms to fire and potential tornadoes to occur. So you set a preliminary target, you drive towards that target, and you hope to get there. You do end up getting there, and you have to wait around for another hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and hope that storms fire. You're reevaluating environmental conditions constantly during this time, and then you see the first radar echoes starting to show up, so you try to target those radar echoes and get to them. Oftentimes they're not at the spot that you are, so there's more driving involved. And eventually you finally get to a point where there are mature storms and you hopefully are viewing a tornado.
I've always kind of had an interest in weather. It's never really been like my whole life I've known I'm going to be a meteorologist, like a lot of people are, but I've always had a knack for the science and math kind of thing, and always kind of loved looking at clouds, watching the TV when there's a storm coming, that kind of thing. And I think I was in high school and someone mentioned to me, well, you would make a great meteorologist. And then it kind of clicked in my head, well, oh, that's what I'm meant to be.
You guys can discuss it. Like normal chasing, people are going to have different thoughts, different opinions, so it's great if you guys have differences in opinions on where you want to target. There's no one perfect place.
Everybody has a different approach to storm chasing for obvious reasons, but first of all, my number one concern while storm chasing is the safety of myself and the people who are with me. And then my second concern is obviously the people who are being impacted by this weather. Right now, I am a Master's of Science candidate at Ohio University. And as for the future, I would like to go into a career in research, either in meteorology or climatology. I'm kind of open to either end, and maybe continue on for a PhD. I'm undecided on that yet, but in the long run, I would like to go into research in the field.
I don't expect to make a huge difference till all is said and done. What I hope to do is I hope to contribute small pieces to the puzzle that we're trying to figure out, specifically on how tornadoes form and what impacts their intensity as well as their longevity.
Well, I think that being a woman in the field of meteorology is actually a kind of unique thing. The percentage of male to female, there's a lot more males in the field than there are females, so I think it's kind of maybe lacking on what it's like to be a woman. And I think as a woman in the field, we have a lot to contribute to that because it's a it's an underrepresented population. And I think that as a woman and a scientist, it's very unique in our perspectives on how it is, especially with living in a career that is extremely male dominant, and how we see things, how we react to things, it may be different for whatever reason. But I think that as a woman myself, I have a lot to contribute to that, and I hope that in the future there is a higher number of women who are interested in the science of meteorology specifically, and that we can increase that population so we have a representation of both sides that may have different perspectives on how we go about meteorology in the future.
I choose to use an approach where I blend a lecture, but I also have the students responsible for participating in an activity or a quiz or some kind of active experience where they are applying what they're learning to some kind of specific problem or some kind of specific exercise. A lot of my teaching also incorporates real-world observations, so I have the students utilize current weather situations and events and analyze those scenarios and apply the concepts that we're learning in the classroom to those particular scenarios. Ultimately, my priority above everything else is my family and my family's happiness. So that comes first in my life, regardless of what else is going on. I will get the work done that I need to get done, even if it means that I stay up all night to do it. But my family is my priority. And I also enjoy doing other things in my life too. So I specifically make time to play with my daughter when I come home from work, to enjoy time in the kitchen cooking, and to work in the gardens on the weekends, enjoy some outdoor activity in the meantime as well. So I like to not only focus on work all the time, but also to bring in other aspects and other enjoyable parts of my life as well.
Mommy is a meteorologist.